The glass shattered on the floor before the room even had a chance to go quiet. Red wine pooled across the white tablecloth, creeping right toward my plate like a warning sign. Across the table, Arthur Vance had a red face and a pulsing vein on his forehead as he stared me down. "You are the absolute worst mistake my son has ever made in his life," he barked out. Every single server in the private dining room froze, and my husband Nolan sat right beside me completely paralyzed. Unable to say a word. 6 months before that terrible dinner, I honestly believed I was living a fairy tale. Nolan was a gentle soul who loved quiet coffee shops, reading bad books, and taking random weekend road trips with me. He never mentioned his family had a massive fortune, or that his father founded one of the most ruthless private equity firms in New York. I only discovered the truth at our engagement party, where Arthur stood on a penthouse balcony overlooking the city skyline and reminded everyone that the Vance name demanded elite social standing. From that day on, Arthur made it his personal mission to remind me that I came from nothing. He would introduce me as his son's temporary companion at public events, cut me off whenever I spoke, and make cruel jokes about my modest background. I was a project manager at a mid-sized tech company, earning a decent living through hard work, but to Arthur, I was just trash who did not belong in his world. I tried to ignore the subtle insults for Nolan's sake, hoping his father would eventually soften up. Everything shifted when the data analytics project I led at work was acquired by a major West Coast firm for $42 million. My personal payout from stock options and bonuses was $3 million, a life-changing amount of money. That made me feel so proud of my hard work. Nolan insisted we celebrate the milestone with his parents at an upscale restaurant in the city. But the moment we sat down, Arthur turned my hard-earned accomplishment into a joke, laughing loudly and calling my payout a pathetic rounding error compared to his corporate profits. When I finally stood up for myself and pointed out that at least I earned my money without relying on a family trust fund, Arthur lost control. He slammed his wine glass onto the table, sending sharp shards and red liquid everywhere. Before screaming that I was nothing but trash using his son for access, he threw a stack of cash onto the ruined tablecloth to pay for dinner and stormed out of the restaurant. What hurt me the most was not Arthur's explosive rage, but the fact that Nolan sat there in complete silence and never defended me. That night, crying on the cold bathroom floor of our apartment, I realized I could not spend the rest of my life begging for respect. I decided to use my payout to launch a deep investigation into Arthur's firm, Vance Capital, studying their financial reports and discovering massive vulnerabilities. Arthur had been buying struggling physical retail stores and stripping their assets, a strategy that was failing miserably in the modern market. He was losing millions, and the board of directors was growing deeply anxious about his arrogant, outdated leadership style. I partnered with a brilliant venture capitalist named Sarah, combining my funds with outside investors to quietly buy up shares of Vance Capital through various holding companies. We spent 6 grueling months approaching nervous board members and institutional investors who were tired of Arthur's toxic behavior and falling profit margins. By the time Arthur realized what was happening in his own backyard, our investment group had quietly secured 41% of the total company stock, giving us enough voting power to call an emergency board meeting. On the day of the vote, I walked into the glass-walled boardroom wearing a sharp black suit and took a seat right opposite Arthur. When Sarah presented the official documents and called for an immediate vote of no confidence, Arthur threw a massive fit, screaming threats and denying the reality right in front of him. But the board members had enough of his failing strategies, voting 14-4 to remove him as chief executive officer on the spot. Arthur looked at me with pure shock, suddenly looking incredibly small as he realized he had lost his entire legacy. I looked Arthur straight in the eyes and told him that he was paying the price for treating people like garbage. Nolan and I separated shortly after the meeting, because I realized I could never build a secure future with a man who stayed silent when I was being abused. Today, the company has been completely rebranded into a successful modern firm, while Arthur is entirely out of the picture. True strength comes from knowing your own worth, building your own path, and never allowing toxic people to make you feel small. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more powerful real-life stories every single week. Your support helps us share these incredible journeys with the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.